Okay. I think this is working. But this looks like I think there's some kind of delay. Okay. Yeah, it looks like it's working. Hello. I am Alicia Powers, and this is my first webinar. So it comes with the disclaimer that I really don't know what I'm doing, but I'm doing it anyway. And so this will be extremely authentic because I'm still learning the software. I'm using OBS to connect to YouTube for the live stream. And this is also my first time talking more publicly about food sensitivities. So that is also relatively new too. So the people who are watching this live may see something that nobody else will ever see because I will be editing this when it comes time. So I have like two monitors going and I have to get to the. Okay, so I think I'm seeing that this is coming through, so I think that's a good sign. Um, Welcome. And I have a PowerPoint thing, so I'm going to put that on. This is a lot to manage. I have a lot more respect for people who do this because there's a lot of different pieces. Okay, so now let me do the transition. Okay, so hopefully you are now seeing the slideshow. The title of this webinar is Halloween Survival Guide Low Sugar Edition. I know Halloween was yesterday. I know people probably have piles of candy somewhere, and I think it's kind of rude to even talk about sugar on today. But it fit the calendar, and I needed to do something by the end of the month. So here we are. I'm not gonna like beat people over the head with why sugar is bad, but we will talk about it so you're at least informed about the choices that you're making. And here we go. So let's see. This is me with a lot less hair. It's an old picture. Um, I am Alicia Powers. I do have a PhD. My PhD is in public policy and management. I also have a degree in statistics and cognitive science. So my world is a lot about numbers and thinking about how numbers represent the world. I am the founder of Core Harmonic. I am a data scientist. And my approach has to do with taking information, presenting it in a way that people can understand, and that it's actionable. I am also a food sensitive. My food sensitivity actually started at birth. When I was born, my mother was sick and was unable to breastfeed, so I was fed with formula. In the 70s, there weren't actually a lot of like synthetic formulas. There were a couple, but they tried goat's milk and cow's milk and some synthetic things. Eventually, they found something, but I had a lot of physical and emotional discomfort as a result of trying to figure out how to have my body try to digest these things. I've been allergic slash sensitive to milk my whole life, but I still consume it. And that's part of the reason that I'm building this community and building this information network around food sensitivities. If things don't go all the way to allergies, which allergies are really intense, affect your immune system. They're things that you absolutely should go to the doctor for. A lot of times, people who have sensitivities but not allergies don't actually deal with the sensitivity. And over time, not dealing with that sensitivity can have some really devastating consequences. So we'll talk a little bit about that. Caveats: I am not a nutritionist and I'm not a medical doctor. What I am is someone who is able to take information and data and make it actionable. And that's what I'm doing with Core Harmonic. Okay. This is a quote that I got. I'm a part of several different business groups that are fabulous and helpful and definitely hype me up. And this is a quote from a guy, Paul Hoyt, who's in one of my business groups, who said somebody else said it, but I don't remember who said it. But I am glad you're here. I'm glad I'm here. I care about you, and I just know what I know. So that's what I'm presenting today. I want to start with this picture. Sometimes I feel like in life, the world, the universe, God, whatever you believe in, gives you signs. And I was going to the supermarket the other day, and saw this sign where it just said food and this huge amount of pumpkins. And I think during the fall season, a lot of times we forget that pumpkins also are food. They're not just jack o' lanterns. So this is an Instagram post. I'm on Instagram at Core Harmonic. This is a Instagram post I did offering some quick recipes for pumpkins. Pumpkins make an excellent mash. You can do it savory. If you can tolerate milk, you can do it with cream and cheese and garlic and herbs that you like. But if you can't tolerate milk, it works really well with like a vegetable stock, nutritional yeast. Anyone who doesn't do milk knows about nutritional yeast. And again, garlic and some herbs. If you want to do sweet, you can definitely do something with like honey or maple syrup or sugar if you can tolerate sugar. And then put all those warming spices like cinnamon and nutmeg and anything else, clove. There's some wonderful things for autumn. Very, very comforting. So I know during the holidays, a lot of people want that mac and cheese or something that gives you that flavor. A lot of what I'm trying to do is provide recipes that will give you the sense of that and also the satisfaction of maybe not, it's not going to be macaroni cheese. That's absolutely true. But it can definitely make you feel like you're getting something comforting. And what's even better is that your body's going to appreciate it more. Okay, so what are we going to talk about? I am going to practice actually being on camera more. So I'm going to keep the slides to the side until there are a couple things that I want to show. But then I'm just going to talk to the camera because that's so not in my comfort zone and what I need to practice. I got lots of advice about this before I did this. I used to be a professor, so it's not strange for me to convey information to people, but when you're a professor, people pay to listen to you speak, so they kind of have to listen to you. When you're offering like free stuff, I feel like you have to just be mindful that people are choosing to be there. So it's a little bit different. So one piece of advice I got was to pretend to talk to someone. So I will pretend to talk to that person. I tend to be really direct when I talk to that person, so we'll see how this all comes off. Um, so I just wanted to start with some things that people think are true that may not be as true as they think. So the first thing is that food sensitivities are no big deal. The reason why I focus on food sensitivities is because um, there isn't really a great space or avenue to really figure out what's going on with your food sensitivity. So allergies, definitely doctors, and there's medication, and there's all the things that you need to make sure that because allergies can be so serious you can actually die from them. There's a lot of research around them. Sensitivities are harder because it's really hard to understand what you're sensitive to. It's really hard to understand what the symptoms are, and it's becoming more and more difficult as more and more chemicals are being introduced into our food chain, our food infrastructure. I have to figure out the word for it, but into the food system. Maybe that's the right word. The second thing a lot of people think is true is that food sensitivities really only focus on like milk and gluten and nuts. Food sensitivities can actually happen to a particular chemical or a dye or a particular food. I think some people, I've definitely experienced that. I've had companies that I've eaten their products for quite some time, and then all of a sudden I'm having this reaction to it, and they'll change the formulation of their product or the way that or they'll put different things in the product, and my body reacts differently. So food sensitivities can happen across a variety of different types of food, and then also the chemicals and the different ways that food is treated along the way. Another thing I want to talk about is a lot of times with food sensitivities, people talk about emotional eating, especially that it's really about willpower. And I think willpower is an interesting way that I feel like the diet community is kind of helping people feel like it's their fault when things don't work. I think emotional eating is a result of a lot of things. And when I go back to my cognitive science training, there's a lot of different triggers that can happen that influence your behavior. And so when I think about emotional eating, I often think of it, or at least a component of it, as a learned response. And learned responses can be unlearned. So I don't think willpower kind of suggests that you either have it or you don't. I think if it's a learned response, you can change that behavior. And then the final thing, and the most important thing we're talking about today, is that only diabetics need to think about sugar, which is definitely not true in America, at least, because most Americans consume way too much sugar. And the amount of sugar that people are consuming can lead to some really serious consequences. Diabetes is what a lot of people focus on, but as we'll learn in this webinar, there are lots of different things that are impacted by having too much sugar. I cannot at all see the chat, so I'm just like, for this one, I may have to ignore the chat because I don't know what to do. So I'll just go to the end and then I can figure out where the chat is. So sugar right now is everywhere. Like, it's in sweets, of course, candy, pie, cakes, cookies, of course. It's in dairy desserts like ice cream and milkshakes. But where a lot of people consume their sugar is soda and fruit juice. And then for the youth, these sports drinks have a lot of sugar in them, and I don't think most people realize how much sugar they're intaking with something that is supposed to be revitalizing them or giving them energy. Low fat yogurt has quite a bit of sugar. Condiments like ketchup. Anyone who's made a really good barbecue sauce knows there's quite a bit of sugar in there. Honey mustard sauces. And then a lot of breakfast cereals have more sugar than most people would expect as well. So it turns out, the research that I could find, most people in America consume an average of 17 to 24 teaspoons of sugar per day, which, teaspoons seem small, but that amount of teaspoons actually gets you close to a half a cup. And so I just, as a thought experiment for myself, I just got a half a cup of water and just wanted to see during a week how much sugar most people are consuming. And it's not just sugar in your coffee, it's sugar in your fruit juice, it's sugar in your breakfast cereal, it's in your oatmeal. It's not just what you're adding to it. So that would be 2 days worth of sugar right there, which is a lot to even think about. That would be 3 days. Most people don't even drink that amount of water in a day, which is that will be another webinar. Um, that would be 4 days of sugar. And you can't even get the amount of sugar that most people consume in a week into this one drinking glass, which I think is telling about how hidden sugars can you don't really see it. And again, as a data scientist, that is my goal, is to really uncover the information behind what's going on with the food. That is the reality of the situation. People are having a full glass of sugar at least every week. But people don't see it that way. And I think if you see it that way, it might help you to think about different ways you can change that if you want the benefits of changing that. So let's just talk about the ways that too much sugar affects you. And I'm just going to throw up the list because I think it's helpful to see it. It affects your brain. There are chemical processes. Most people have heard of dopamine and dopamine release. Sugar is a part of that process. I'm not going to go through the whole thing, but it affects your brain. It can affect your mood. The science says that people who indulge in sugar can often experience depression symptoms. It affects your teeth. Everybody knows about cavities. It affects your joints because sugar has a component that impacts inflammation. And people who have arthritis or other joint issues often deal with inflammation. It actually impacts your skin, which I did not know before I was doing the research here. But it actually adds to aging faster. It prevents certain peptides and collagen processes from doing their normal routine. It affects the liver. It actually can lead to non alcoholic fatty liver, which is not a pretty thing, and also impacts your health quite a bit. Um, Impacts your health because it can inflame the arteries. It impacts your pancreas. This is the one most people focus on because this is the one that's related to diabetes. It impacts your body weight. There's actually a mechanism that sugar turns on fat cells in a way that leads to more resistance. And then for men, it affects sexual health. So there's a whole host of things that people may be experiencing in their health that may actually be linked to sugar intake. It could be linked to other things, but as you're trying to figure out why maybe you're crashing at 3 or 4 o'clock in the afternoon after eating certain things, or why your knee seems to hurt every morning that you get up, there might be a way to uncover how food is related to some of these symptoms. One of the things that I tried to do in Core Harmonic is find substitutions or ways that you can either enhance your health. So if you're going to choose to indulge in whatever you're indulging, trying to balance that out with other behaviors that will at least help ameliorate. I don't know if I'm saying that word right. Those situations like drinking water can help a lot of things. Drinking enough water can definitely make your body work better, make toxins come out of your body faster. There are things that you can do that even if you don't change the core behavior that you may be struggling with, there are things that you can add that may help you feel better. And so when you're trying to find the sweetness of life, I would say, and times when I've reduced or actually stopped eating sugar at all, some of the things I did that were really helpful were replacement of things. One, I drank a lot more water, which helped, but also replacing trying a piece of fruit or berries, dark chocolate, and they have some dark chocolates that are actually pretty good that don't have actual sugar in them. But dark chocolate has anti-inflammatory effects. So again, if you are indulging in the sugar, at least choose something that will try and counteract some of the not so great responses that your body might have. Chia seed pudding is one of my favorite things. I will be putting up a YouTube recipe on this at some point. Lentils are another thing that has been shown to help keep blood sugar levels balanced. And then one of the saving graces I used when reducing sugar is definitely dates and prunes because they're super super sweet. So you get that sweet, but you're getting a lot of vitamins and other things with it. And with dates, they found that they don't affect the blood sugar in the same way. And so that offers you a way to try and feel like you're getting some sugar without feeling like you are hurting your health in some really detrimental ways. But there are other things that one can do too, because I do think that there's a place where your mind, a lot of cravings really do come from your mind, and I'll talk more about it as my series goes on. Where craving sweetness sometimes is a physical thing, but sometimes it is a psychological thing, possibly, that you're not feeling like your life is as sweet as you'd want it to be. So I think that there's other activities or things that you can do if you feel yourself or find yourself craving some sweetness. There's some other things you could do, like call a friend, remember a happy memory. I found this actually very helpful when I was getting off sugar completely. Taking a walk. I have relive a happy memory twice, maybe a childhood memory. Listen to a funny video, go outside, deep breathing, write, hug someone. Again, these are all things you can do before indulging in the behavior that may not be helpful to you. And you may find after doing some of these things that you may not be as interested in delving into that behavior. So, with that said, that is my presentation on this health thing. So, that's all that I have. The things that I want to, well, there are two more things that I want to talk about. One is my community, my free community. My community hasn't launched yet, but I am collecting emails to keep people abreast of how it's developing. And it's also helping me know what people's needs are so that I can cater to everyone's individual needs. So if you're interested, you can go, I guess, when I do the description, you can go in there and sign up for my newsletter so you can keep abreast. I also have a link tree at Core Harmonic. You can sign up for my newsletter there. I don't like spam and I don't email people very much, but mostly I just announce things that I think will be helpful to people. Um, and so I'll put all of that in the description. My website will be iscoreharmonic.com. It is being updated right now. I'm hoping to get that up this afternoon. But if you go there, um, you can also sign up for the newsletter. But I also have a food impact survey you can take to see if food sensitivities might be impacting your health in a negative way. So that is there. The last thing I want to talk about is just a kind of weird thing that I saw on Netflix the other day. So I think about food obviously a lot, and so this came on Netflix. Sing. They had a thriller episode for Halloween, and I was shocked because it actually was focused on covering something that I think about quite a bit, which is GMOs. I don't think most people watching this cartoon thought at all that this was a commentary, I guess, on GMOs and what some people term as frankenfood. But in this short uh, commercial, I mean, not commercial, but this short um, cartoon, they kind of talk about how there's a lot of things going on with food that people may not be aware of, and that our food may be a little bit genetic, well, I mean, GMO, genetically engineered in ways that we may not be aware of. So I would encourage, I thought it was fun to watch and I enjoyed watching it, but I also appreciated that there is a message that says we may need to be a little more aware of what's going on in our food and how it's impacting us. These are, the animals turning into kind of like zombies after being in contact with some of the chemicals. Um, and just thinking about how we can know whether we're consuming these foods. And I think the idea of genetically modified foods is not new because throughout the beginning of all agriculture, part of being good at being an agriculturalist was to be able to deal with the genetics of foods and understand, which plants to splice together and put together. I don't know all the technicalities of it. Um, so that's not new. It's just the way that it's being done and the science behind it. I think we just have to be aware of and maybe question at times, especially if we see that people are developing sensitivities and problems as a result of how these foods are being cultivated. So that's like my public service announcement for today. Um, so that's my webinar. Super, extremely authentic. I don't know how. I'll be doing some editing and I will put out the replay, maybe as is. I mean, at some point, what does it matter? But thank you for listening. I hope there was something of value there. And I'm doing webinars for November and December, both holiday related. Again, trying to help arm people with some things that can help them get through the holidays in a little bit of a healthier way if possible. All right, thanks for listening. I am so glad this is done. Thank you.